If you are currently experiencing a behavioral issue of any kind, feel free to email me as I do offer virtual coaching. And if you would like, you can go to my Facebook page and you can see all the reviews that I've had from previous clients. All right, everybody, welcome. Appreciate you joining us today. We have a special guest. I'm here to introduce you to Erica Fontana. She's here to discuss, as a veterinary technician down in Florida, her experience firsthand with what she sees in the vet world as far as, when people bring their dogs into the veterinary setting, the kind of behavioral things that she witnesses, how people handle their dogs at the vet. Just overall, it's an interesting perspective. Being a vet tech, you see things that people aren't necessarily privy to, especially on a day-to-day basis. So
Mhm.
just going to
Yeah.
go ahead and let you take it from there and just go ahead and share your experience in that world for us.
Yeah. So I've been working as a veterinary nurse for about 5 years. And so I've worked with dozens of dogs, different dogs every day, um, for all those years. And I've seen firsthand the disability being a passive dog owner has been on dogs. Just how neurotic they can be, how aggressive some can be, whether it's fear or just them not wanting to do what they don't want to do. Um, so it's really tough being on the receiving end in a setting like that of people's failures to properly train and lead their dogs. So, the typical things you would think, like chihuahuas being demonic, absolutely. We see that all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
But this is in every breed of dog. I mean, I had a golden retriever I was working with. It was so out of its mind. I felt so bad for it. He just had no self-control and obviously had never had any kind of structure or leadership. The guy who brought the dog in even said the owner's got a problem with this, and this, which you hear all the time. But then the question is, well, what are you doing about it?
Mhm.
You know. But this golden retriever, I put a slip lead around its neck because it was wearing a harness, and we all know harnesses are a joke. And he tried to bite me. So that just goes to show you that any dog has the ability to show that kind of behavior if they're not taught well, if they're not raised well, you know. I mean, we get almost bitten on a daily basis, we get scratched to high health on a daily basis. It sucks having to muzzle and forcibly restrain all different kinds of dogs because they weren't prepared to deal with what we need to do. People don't play with their dog's feet or their dog's ears, even though some of these people, we try to tell them when they bring us a puppy, you need to do these things. Uh, it just doesn't seem to happen. I mean, the education, generally speaking, doesn't seem to be there about
Yeah,
what needs to be done to avoid this kind of conflict. It's,
right.
you know, it's really exhausting. And as bad as we feel for our own stress, we feel bad for the dog's stress because it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be that way,
What,
you know?
as far as stress is concerned, what role do you think, because the vet can be a stressful environment,
Of course.
um,
Yeah.
and I've often seen it, especially from the dog's perspective, where you might even have a dog who's not normally the anxious type,
Right.
but you put them in a veterinary setting and there can be a stress level on the dog that may not normally be there. And so I assume you probably would conclude that the stress level itself could contribute to, say, a dog trying to snap at somebody or bite or maybe act in ways it wouldn't normally act if it were outside of the veterinary setting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in a it's a business, we got to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have all the time in the world to sit there and give them treats and pet
Right.
them and tell them it's going to be okay.
Right.
That's just the reality of it. So, I mean, the strange smells and the smells of previously frightened dogs or upset dogs, and our cortisol and our stress levels being up. I mean, there's so many things that go into them responding in a more extreme way than they might just be fearful, meeting someone on the street, you
Right.
know. Um, but yeah, it's just I feel bad that we don't have the time to really work with the dogs in the moment
Well, sure,
other
and it's
than
it,
what we do.
there's a balance too where I'm sure on the one hand, as a vet and a veterinary tech, there's a certain way you go about handling dogs, especially dogs that could potentially be dangerous.
Hmm.
But there's still an onus on the owner to prepare the dog as best they can for
Yeah.
certain situations. And I find, if a owner has taken the time to build a relationship with the dog correctly,
Hmm.
it's not to say that the dog wouldn't be stressed out going to the vet because I mean, from the dog's perspective, no matter how calm and stable the dog is, you got needles poking in you, you got, you're having blood drawn, or you're having things
Yeah,
that just are uncomfortable,
absolutely.
but when you have the right relationship between the dog and the owner, you know, that level of stress could be seriously mitigated,
Right.
where um, there wouldn't be as much of a stress load put on the dog if it really trusts that the owner's, got their back or controlling the situation to the best of their ability and that they're not going to put them in harm's way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a thing, right? I mean, if people haven't made effort in general daily things to push their dog through situations that they're afraid of, to show them it's okay. I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you. It's a bag blowing in the wind.
Right.
If they just sit there and pet their dog and tell them it's okay, and the dog's like, I'm gonna die
Mhm.
because of this bag blowing in the wind, then nothing's learned. So if they never push their dog through the moments of fear in their everyday life, then they're never going to have the fortitude to deal with a significantly more frightening situation,
Right.
you
Well,
know.
I'm so glad you brought that up because this is a common criticism I get on my channel. It's
Oh,
people witness a dog being stressed
right.
and they immediately attribute that to something bad, but stress is a natural part of life and
Yeah.
in order to reach sort of the next level, you do have to be put through a bit of stress. So the stress should build resilience. You're
Mm,
building a stronger minded dog if you do things correctly. The
right.
goal of putting a dog through a certain level of stress is to achieve something greater, where the dog may have had a previously weaker mentality, having gone through something uncomfortable, you can build a stronger mentality within the dog where
Yeah.
not much is going to phase it, or not as much is going to phase it. It has a higher threshold to unfamiliar things or being uncomfortable. It's going to be stronger minded as a result. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that I don't think um, they want to people have a tendency to baby their dogs too much, and it's like,
Mm,
well, think of it if it were your child. Do you want to raise a weak-minded child, or do you want to guide your child in a way to where, as it grows older, it's going to be more resilient, tougher minded, and it's going to be able to handle the natural stresses of life?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you want a kid that falls off its bike and says, okay, cool, let's keep going.
Right,
You don't
right,
want a kid that cries and can't come out of its room for the rest of the day
right,
because they're so upset and stressed. I mean, they're similar to us. Like, we have to push ourselves through stress. We can't hide from stress. It's a natural
right.
part of life. And um, going against stress and pushing through stress can cause greatness.
Absolutely.
right? I
Absolutely.
mean, you know, when I first started in veterinary medicine, I was terrified. I knew nothing, but because of me not letting myself be put down by my fear, I've accomplished great things. Or my puppy is a naturally fearful and timid dog. If I let him panic or run away from every little thing that's ever scared him, he would be the biggest mess. I
Right.
mean, you know, it's just who he is. But I always took the time to sit with him, walk him up to the sprinkler or walk him up to whatever it is and say, look, dude, it's okay. Like
Mhm.
I'm not worried about it. You don't need to be worried about it. It's not going to hurt you. But I know if I hadn't taken the few seconds to do that, or if I had reinforced his anxiety, he would probably be terrified of everything at all times at this point
Right.
in his life.
Right. You're never going to push them past that state of mind. And that's the thing that I see a lot. And I'm sure this is one of the, as we've discussed, you see this a lot as a vet where say someone brings a dog in and the dog is stressed out and the dog's anxious and the first instinct of the human is to try to soothe and say it's okay and start petting the
Mm,
dog and we see for some reason I think that's kind of people's modus operandi where that's like the default response to a dog being
yeah.
stressed. We for some reason think that doing that in that moment is going to help soothe the dog and but what you're really doing is you're telling the dog that how it's feeling about this particular thing. I like that. I want you to feel
Yep.
this way about this, whatever's happening at the moment. And
Right.
that's not the message you want to send to your dog. So um, because I see this a lot with clients or when I used to do free seminars, people bring their dogs in, and it's one of the most common things I see is this natural, almost immediate response of people to want to pet the dog and say it's
Yeah.
okay, when the dog is in that state of mind, and that's unfortunately it's what's the phrase, it's I can't think of the phrase, but it's basically the opposite of that's true, where you want to do
Oh,
the
yeah.
opposite of that,
Right.
um and because you want to send the message to your dog that everything's good, there's nothing to be worried about.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes I find that if you just kind of ignore them, let the dog work through it, and then give the dog the guidance necessary to help the dog understand how to navigate those situations.
Yeah.
And that's why I have a couple of videos. Like there was a dog Samson on my channel where he was a good example of I like to teach pushing dogs through their fears rather than running away from them.
Hmm.
You build a stronger dog that way.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, you have we see dogs that are older, you know, 7, 8, 9. They've had a lifetime of the owner petting them and telling them it's okay and kissing their face because they're getting a shot. And the dog's even more afraid or more upset about what's going on than it was 6 years ago. So obviously that's not helping.
No, it's
Like
best. Yeah, yeah,
if kissing and cuddling and petting your dog and telling them it's okay helps, then we wouldn't have 1,000 dogs that are older that are worse off than they were. You know, like the proof is in the pudding. Um, and I think one of the biggest causes of this reaction is because you can't explain what's going on to a dog like you can at least to a child. Like a
right,
child, it's easier because you can say, hey, when you get this shot, it's going to hurt for 2 seconds. You're going to get a lollipop. It's all good.
right,
You move, and you can explain that. But with the dog, I think because people know that they can't literally explain what's going to happen, why it's happening, and what the outcome will be, you know, a treat or whatever. They think that's all they have. Like they resort to that instinctual emotional coddling because there's no way to logically reason with the dog because we
right.
don't they don't speak our language.
Right.
And obviously you and I know that we can talk to our dogs in nonverbal ways, that is a language that they understand, but that's not something most people know.
Right. Yeah,
The
it's
so
oh no, no, you go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
oh, you know, the energy, the way we say it, right? That's something I told someone. It was the first dog she'd ever had in her life, which, you know, a woman in her early 30s, I was like, wow, or early 40s, I was like, wow, that's crazy. You've never had a dog. But, you know, she had her dog and she did that natural petting, it's okay, buddy thing. And he was really nervous,
Mhm.
but I felt for whatever reason, I could be real with her. And I said, look, don't do that. I said, and one of the things I said was, it's not what you say as much as it is how you say it.
Mhm.
If you tell your dog it's fine in a calm, assertive way, and not a, oh my God, it's
Right.
okay, you're
Right.
fine,
Right. Yeah.
that makes all the difference in the world. So it's not that you can't tell your dog it's okay necessarily. It's that the energy and the energy behind and how you're saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that lady subsequently brought her that dog into the vet many times for different things, nail trims, anal gland expressions, which isn't a fun thing. And he's a
Mhm.
superstar. I mean, I worked with her. I did a couple sessions with her at her house with him as well, which is general training stuff. But, um, you know, he had the potential to be a dog that was going to start reacting really poorly.
Mhm.
But fortunately, she listened to me and understood what I said. And he's a great dog.
And it's that just goes to serve to the one of the things I commonly say is it's a lot of the small things that we do that make the biggest difference. And
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times I've been with clients or just given people some free advice where when they engage with their dog in this way, it typically creates a more unstable mind in the dog. And one of the first things I'll tell them is, okay, first just stop talking to the dog.
Yeah.
And when the dog clings to you, I want you to push the dog away and then just ignore it. Don't pet it, don't acknowledge it at all. And it's amazing how quickly the dog will go from shaking and whining and being clingy to the dog starts opening up and stabilizing and calming down and adopting a much more healthy state of mind. And I mean, dogs can do it so
Yeah.
quickly, but what the difference is how the human is what part of the dog is the human feeding?
Right.
So if you continually feed this nervous, anxious energy within the dog, then all it knows, because petting and that form of physical touch is a form of communication.
And it's stimulating,
It's stimulating,
which
yeah, right.
they don't need
So
more of at that
no,
moment.
no, it's best to disconnect and withdraw. And the message you're now sending to your dog is, I'm not going to pay attention to you, and the dog will calm itself down because now
Yeah.
it's not getting that engagement from you. And the thing that I liken it to is, well, put two dogs in a room together, and if you have one that's whining and anxious and nervous, do you see the other dog come up to it and start coddling it and licking it? And you don't see that. In fact,
That,
dogs
no,
are
it's not a
actually,
common thing.
yeah, dogs are actually repelled by that. They will
Oh, yeah.
actually they will move further away from that energy. They don't
Or they'll
like it.
correct it.
Or they're correct, yeah, or they'll, yeah, that's one of
Tell
two
them to
things will
knock it
happen.
off. Yeah.
Right, right, yeah, Goose would correct it. Some
Enough's
dogs
enough.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, some dogs just move away from it. They don't want to be around it.
Right.
So take a cue from the dogs, and that's to me is the greatest educator is just watch what the dogs do with each other when you have
Yeah.
dogs that are in that state of mind. They don't resort to coddling and trying to tell the other one it's okay. And you're right.
No.
I think that's why a lot of people do it is because yeah, with the child you can rationalize, you can explain things, you can maybe distract the child a little bit, but you can't really do that with the dog. And so I think people think that the next best course of action is let me just try to, in the best way I can, let the dog know that
Yeah.
everything's okay. But the dog doesn't see it that way.
No. But it's always doing the best we can with what we know.
Right.
And unfortunately, as prevalent as this information seems to be, it's just not.
Yeah, right.
Um, especially relationship information on building a relationship. You know, there's a lot of sit, stay, and down, but building a relationship and leadership is something that I don't see a lot of in the dog training world with a lot of the bigger trainers, which is a huge disservice to everybody because they just want to obedience issues out, but that's not how it works.
No.
I know that firsthand. And not to sound mean, but I have to say, from a psychological perspective, as someone who went to school for psychology, I think that a lot of people have a desire for their dogs to need them that badly.
Mm.
Like, I think there is,
Yeah.
with some people, a level of selfishness
Yes.
of thinking, oh my God, my dog loves me and my dog needs me. And when they're scared, they come to me and cuddle with me. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that sounds so patronizing.
No,
But
no,
I mean, I think that's
you're not
definitely
wrong.
a
You're
thing.
not
It's
wrong.
definitely a
You're
thing.
not wrong.
So let's be, you and I are very blunt people, right?
Yeah.
So that's just the truth. I mean, some people love it.
Yeah.
And, to a degree, I was kind of like that. But then I had to think about the long term repercussions of me being that way. Like, my dog needs a backbone,
Yeah.
you know, especially doing agility with him. I can't have him be just so cripplingly dependent on
Right.
me for everything. Like, he
Right.
needs to have some independence and some independent thought and exist on his own, like,
Yes.
happily without me. But I think a lot of people just are so high on the supply
Yep.
of their dog being neurotic and needing them. Like, people think it's
Yeah.
cute, but
It's
I mean,
not.
they don't really understand that it's terrible. Like, the dog's miserable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you
Imagine.
love it, but the dog doesn't love it.
No, no. Imagine an existence where you're never settled, you're always anxious, you're always nervous, you don't know what to expect because the structure that's necessary isn't there. To me that's more abusive, or to me that's like torture to be able to exist in that state of mind constantly,
Oh yeah,
which there's a lot of dogs that do exist in that state of mind constantly.
right.
And a lot of times it's just the owners either don't know any better, or it is that sort of unhealthy attachment that the human has to the dog. And it's
Yep.
almost, and this is why I've made videos talking about where people, it seems in a lot of cases, they take dogs into their lives to try to soothe their own emotional shortcomings rather than doing what's best for the dog.
Yeah, fill a hole
Yeah,
in their
and
lives.
then the
Totally.
dog,
Yeah.
yeah, the dog suffers as a result of that because you're
Yep.
not actually caring about the real needs of the dog and seeing the animal for what it is. You're projecting your own kind of emotional garbage onto the dog. And then
Right.
we wonder why the dog ends up having problems.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I do agree with you. Now I do want to make a distinction though, because there are people that would say a dog needs intelligent disobedience. And I don't agree. I don't agree that a dog needs to be disobedient um, in a way that would override your authority. But
Hmm.
having a dog be independent and not dependent on you in an unhealthy way, I think is very important. Like I don't want my dogs to be like I should be able to leave the house and my dogs not freak out or have separation anxiety or whine and cry and that level of separation cause an eruption of emotional instability in my dog. So
Yeah.
I need that level of independence in my dog where they're cool if I'm here and they're cool if I'm not. Or if we're
Yeah.
out walking, I need my dog to follow me, but I'm more than happy to allow my dog the freedom to go do their thing, but I'm still in
Yeah.
control of that entire situation. It's like the dog is independent within the boundaries and the constructs that I've established. Like you can't go outside that limit, right?
Right.
So just to make a distinction there, because I know somebody will probably listen to this and try to point out some kind of contradiction that isn't there.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
but I do agree that level of dependence is not healthy, and it's not good for you or your dog.
No. And you know, it people in general it have a hard time being happy on their own in themselves,
Mhm.
you know? So we got to figure ourselves out before we can help them figure
I agree.
themselves out.
I agree.
But
And
like,
it's well, I see that two ways. I do agree. However, I think if you have the best of intentions when you take a dog in, your dog can actually help you overcome, sort of the weaknesses in yourself or
yeah,
the flaws. Your dog can really help you achieve a greater level within yourself, but you have to be able to rise to that occasion.
absolutely. And that's, we talked about that with my dog Nova. I mean, I was a totally different person when I got her 4 years ago. And because of her and the struggles that we went through trying to figure out our power dynamic and everything else involved, I had to work so hard on myself and change all the negative parts of me, the anxiety and the overthinking and the like frazzled and not no structure in my own life and my own existence. I mean, I don't know that I ever would have really pushed myself to be such a significantly better person if it wasn't for her, because I had the motivation of knowing I had to do it
Mhm.
for her.
Right. Yeah, and
So,
that's when it's coming from the right place, where you see, because I was that way with my first two dogs, where I knew I wasn't going to be able to be the kind of leader they needed if I didn't fix my own shit. And
yeah,
my dogs put me in a position where it was like I either have to do this or they're never going to respect me.
right.
So I decided to rise to the occasion and figure that shit out, and I'm so much better for it because
Yeah,
the insight that that gives you, and it just makes you a better human. It just makes you all around,
absolutely.
and then that you take that knowledge and that new way of being to the next dog, and then you can start to help other people around you because you've made it to the other side in ways that people are still trying to figure out.
Yep. It's a tough road, but it is possible.
Oh, it's totally worth it too. It's
Yeah.
talk about, you know, one of the most rewarding things for me is being able to help people build the relationship with their dog in such a way where now their dog sees them in the same way that my dogs see me. That they
Yeah.
give you that look of admiration and they want to follow you and they want to listen and you just have such a great relationship with them where every day is just it's just easy. Life is easy
Yeah.
with the dog and because it's you really don't have to do anything there's really not much discipline involved at that point. It's most of it's just positive every day because you've reached
Yeah.
that level where you have this understanding.
Yeah. You're not having to establish yourself on a daily basis
Exactly.
to
Right.
like keep the order.
Right.
No, like you do the work and then that's it.
Right.
Well, not literally that's it, but I mean, it's not like a constant Groundhog Day
No.
starting
No, and it's
over kind
and
of
if you
thing.
yeah, and if you reach that level where it has to be that way, then there's still some things missing.
Yep.
Because it shouldn't be this. There is for a little while, depending on the issue you're dealing with, but
Yeah.
you reach a point where yeah, you that stuff should be behind you.
Yeah.
But now actually I wanted to ask you so because I've looked at the ABSAP statement position statements, and I do find it interesting that ABSAP will what they prescribe is mostly it's all positive stuff. They even have in their position statement that if you work with a trainer and they promote dominance or dominance theory, you should not work with them and these are outdated ideas, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And there's such an emphasis on the emotional well-being of the dog, but I'm sure what actually happens, and I've seen videos of some of the things that goes on in the veterinary world, where it's like their position statement is completely contradictory to some of the stuff that happens in the veterinary setting, where it's like sometimes you have no choice but to kind of force a dog to, you know.
It's
Um,
terrible.
yeah, and so it's
Yeah, it
like
sucks.
they're talking out of both sides of their mouth where you're saying, oh, you shouldn't use force or use these aversive methods, but this is what goes on every day in veterinary offices across America. So it's like I find that
Yeah,
I always thought saw that to be it's just it's like this glossy coat of paint trying to make everything sound nice and pretty and oh you should only work with these positive only people, but that's not what actually happens. You know, so
right.
I don't know, can you speak on kind of on the veterinary side of things? What to what degree is that sort of thing necessary? Like when you have dogs that just there's no other way around it where you have to use a bit more of say an unpleasant way of doing things to get the dog, say the medication it needs or the operation it needs, or 'cause I know
Yeah.
those things are not comfortable
No.
to deal with or have to go through, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially there are times where we're dealing with dogs that are bigger than we are.
Yeah.
You know, we had one patient that was 260 pounds, a mastiff. So, you're dealing with a dog bigger dogs, dogs that have no training, dogs that want to bite, dealing with a 10-pound dog that wants to bite you, who
Yeah.
cares?
Right.
It's fine. It's the really big, strong dogs that it gets a lot harder. And I mean, we try so hard to do things nicely. Again, we don't have all the time in the world,
Sure. Sure.
but we try so hard to do, like, hey dude, let me pet you, let me give you some peanut butter, let
Right.
me give you some treats.
Right.
And then if there's, no positive response to that, then um we have to do muzzles, we have to do multiple people holding, and just the most extreme cases where a dog is gonna hurt itself or us with its just physicality, not necessarily even trying to bite.
Hmm.
Um, we have to send drugs. So the dog has to come in to all its appointments high
Sedated.
out of its mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is such a terrible thing. But like, what other option do we have?
Right.
We can tell people all day to, like, we have trainers that we give, if people ask. I don't think we really do it of our own volition. It's more of a if they ask type
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
We have trainers we recommend. Um, I've given my information to at least 6 people, only one of which has ever called me back. So, we can't make people get the help that they need
Right.
and get the dog the help that they need. So, unfortunately, a lot of the really tough dogs are all we have is here's some drugs.
Right.
And that
Right.
sucks.
Yeah, and it
Like, it's a short term solution. That is in
right.
no way a long-term solution. And I try to tell people that, like, when I'm feeling like I have the balls to be real with people, is like, this is not this can't be the rest of your dog's life. That every time they have to come here, you have to drug them, we have to muzzle them, we have I mean, I don't it's tough to talk about some of the think about some of the experiences I've had, but
Right.
like, it's just it's really hard on us to be in a position where we sometimes have to be harder on a dog than we want to. And
Right.
no, like, I don't no, dogs aren't getting hurt. We're not being intentionally unkind, but
Right. Right.
we're still having to push a boundary
Yeah. Yeah, and
sometimes
it's
with what we have to do, because we just have to get it done, or the owner is non-compliant in one way or another.
so do you think then that ABSAB should be more transparent with the language they use and maybe be a little bit more realistic about the language they use in their position statement if some of the things that vets may have to resort to as far as maybe holding a dog down, when the situation calls for it, or, you know, using drugs to say subdue a dog if they're aggressive or anything like that, or um, anything that they would deem to be aversive. Do you think AVSAB should use better language when they're giving advice to the public, given that we know that there are situations that happen in the veterinary world and outside the veterinary world that do call for the usage of a little bit more force than one would necessarily like?
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's doing a disservice to the animals, which is really what we're there for, right? We're there to take care of the animals and do the best we can to take care of the animals. So I think that being more transparent is important because we're, if we're do no harm, then we have to do things that get us to that point.
Right.
Because if we just, cover it up and use language like, oh, he wasn't really a big fan. So, we weren't able to do such and such thing. Like, at the end of the day, the dogs are the ones that are affected by what we say and the image we put out there because
Right.
it's just not realistic.
Right. And it's you're in a bit of a difficult position too, because it's you want to give the dog the treatment that they need, but maybe you have an owner who isn't doing their part,
Hmm.
and they bring in a dog who, you know, things could be done better in the home setting to address behavioral issues, and then they bring that dog in, and there's only so much you can do with the amount of time that you're given,
Right.
and so it's kind of you're kind of like between a rock and a hard place where you're like, well, I want to give this dog the best care that I possibly can, but the dog is making it difficult because of the handling of the owner. And
Right.
we try to give the owner the best advice possible, but the owner doesn't take that advice. And so now we're kind of like having to juggle all these different variables, and the dog ends up paying the price at the end of the day, because now the dog has to be put through this stressful situation that maybe didn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, obviously, we have no desire to traumatize people's dogs.
right, right, right.
Like
That's
we,
not why you become a vet tech. You don't become a
no,
vet tech.
I mean, we don't get paid shit, people. Like we do this because we love animals, and
Yeah,
so no one is ever doing anything to purposely traumatize your dog. But if your dog is so out of control that it takes three people to hold it to, give them a shot. I mean, it's just the reality,
and
but
nobody wants to do that.
no, nobody
Like
wants to do that.
nobody wants to do that.
No. It was crazy. It made me think we had a 75-pound bully mix dog that came in, and this dog had a prong collar and a mini educator e-collar on. And I'm like, cool, this is going to be great. And oh my God,
Not so great, huh?
if I wasn't as strong as I am, that dog would have drugged me through the whole hospital. I mean, it was wild. And I take it back to the owner, and the owner, and I said, that like flowery language. Oh, he wasn't a big fan of us trying to draw his blood, and he said no, thank you, that kind of thing. And the owner says, yeah, I've heard that before. I'm like, oh, thanks for telling me after the fact, for one. Um, but what really got me in that moment, being a trainer on the side or a behaviorist on the side, is like, what is all this gear doing on this dog?
Right.
Because this dog, to me at least, seemed to have no training whatsoever. So that was just a particularly peculiar circumstance. But um, just on like veterinary um, stances on things. And I had the ability to read some behavior modification plans from a veterinary behaviorist, right? Because a lot of vets are like, oh, well, if they're not a veterinary behaviorist, they haven't been to vet school,
Right.
then they're not worth listening to, right?
You're right.
So, one of the doctors I was working with, knowing that I was learning to be a trainer, thought it would interest me to read this because there's like it's crazy. There's only, I think, 80 something veterinary behaviorists in the whole world, which is wild. Not enough. But it doesn't even matter because I read her reports on two different dogs. Um, and I was so disappointed. I mean, it's like, okay, this drug with this drug and this supplement. So, a
Yeah.
lot of drugs, first
Yeah.
of all, no long term plan, foreseeable long term plan to not use those. And in my experience, both working with dogs and my own dog, those meds don't work. I mean, those, Xanax and Prozac barely work for people. They really don't work for dogs 99% of the time.
No, I can't believe
Um,
how often I've heard Prozac be prescribed for dogs. It blows my mind. Like that's like the
yeah,
go-to. I don't, I really don't understand it. But yeah, now actually, yeah, I'm glad you brought up the vet behaviors because I want your take on them because I've not heard very good things about them. But I've also heard the same thing where a lot of them, the prescriptions they give is all centered around drugs.
yeah, yeah. It's all, Xanax, Prozac, um, and Trazodone, or a couple different supplements. But I mean, I think both dogs were on three or four different medications,
Oh,
like at a
yeah.
time. And one of which I worked with after she'd seen the behaviorist, I think more than once, and was on all these drugs. And this dog, in comparison to before that, having worked with the dog, I didn't see much of a difference. So there's that. And the most ridiculous thing to me, or it's as ridiculous to me knowing, how you and I train and work with dogs, is just positive, 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 like never any adversive words, adversive actions, never correcting a
No
dog
discipline.
for
No
anything.
discipline at all.
And I'm like, yeah, no discipline at all. And I'm like, people, if your dog is biting your children, this is not it. So to see a person educated to that degree and that's what they've got, knowing that that is never ever going to work
No.
is so disheartening.
Right. Right. And but that like I said, it ties back to say the position statement of the veterinary behavior organizations where it's all positive. They
Right.
don't, there's a lot of emphasis on the stress level of the dog and the emotional well-being of the dog. And I'm not saying
Yeah,
that isn't important, but what I'm saying is it's
of course it,
any
yeah.
any amount of stress they deem to be unacceptable and it's
Yeah.
abusive and it's like no, 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 no. But I've said before that there's two ways you can empower a dog, and one of those ways is through positive only approaches where you're ignoring the things that the dog is doing that you really don't want. There's no boundaries, there's no rules, there's no discipline. So the dog is never told you can't do this,
Right.
and that empowers the dog in a certain way because you're never setting boundaries with things.
Yeah.
And the other way you empower the dog is by taking too passive of an approach where the dog it engages a certain way with its environment, and if it's never
Given direction.
yeah, if it's never given direction, then and you take it too passive of a role, then the dog becomes empowered because it's gained so much control in the relationship dynamic that now
Yeah.
it's like a bully where it's like everything's no one's ever kind of put me in my place. So
Right.
so it's like this level of entitlement the dog has where it's never been told no, and
Hmm.
there's never been a stronger force in its life to kind of keep things in check, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was just really disappointing because with these really difficult cases, these people are putting all their faith and money into a person that's not telling them the truth, either because that's what that person, that, veterinary behaviorist truly believes, or that's what they think they have to say. Either way, it's just like the dog's never going to get better. I mean, the dog's just going to be drugged for the rest of its life. It's going to be management 24/7. Like the dog with the, being shitty with the kids, you know, that's just not a life for anyone. So it's just
So something
offends me.
is that something you actually see a lot where in terms of say maybe aggressive behavior, the behaviorist types will prescribe medication for that too, for like
Well,
aggressive
how do you
for
behaviorist?
like will they still resort to prescribing drugs for even aggressive behavior? Like say in the case of you have a dog that maybe is biting the kids, will they still resort to drugs in that equation? Is that
Oh
part of
yeah,
their, oh my God, that's
like like multiple. That's what I'm saying. Like
wow.
multiple drugs.
Wow.
And I think it's really sad that anyone would, if they legitimately think that's the answer, then that's sad.
15 years, it's never even crossed my mind to. Now, of course, I'm not in the medical field, so it would be it wouldn't be my place to give that advice anyway, but
Right.
that wouldn't be my first thought. And in fact, I've had many clients who their dogs were already on drugs, and
Yeah.
I give them my opinion on it, but I always say like, listen, the medication is really just it's a band-aid. It's covering up.
Yep.
It's not going to solve anything, right?
Nope.
Let's address the root cause of why the dog is behaving this way, or why is the dog in this emotional state that it's in. Let's address that, and then you should be able to get them off the drugs. Like we shouldn't need them,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, most good trainers, if they know that a dog is on drugs, they want them off the drugs before they start working with them so they can see what the dog's really like.
Right, right.
Good trainers will have the forethought to have that information and explain that.
Yeah, because I want to see the real dog,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And I think, having had a difficult dog, I think that there are occasions where using those medications as a temporary for um I can't think like off the top of my head situationally. Um but I don't think it's totally, I'm not totally against it is what I'm trying to say. I think it's okay to be used if you need some help along the way, but the idea should never be that it is that's it, that's the rest of their life. And the
Right,
idea definitely shouldn't be that that's all you do. And
right.
I think some people, like the actual dog owners, are like, okay, well, my dog's just going to be on Prozac for the rest of its life, and then I'm not going to do anything to
Right.
actually solve the problem.
Right.
And, that's super unfortunate. You know, I mean, I did have my dog on trazodone for a really long time because of my inadequacies before I did all the work I did to myself and to learn how to communicate with her properly. So I understand where people are coming from with needing it. But hi buddy. But I never wanted it to be a long-term thing. Like I had some pride, or whatever you want to call it, that like it's just not right for that to be the rest of her life, or that okay buddy, or that you're gonna be famous, say hi Dante. Or that like I wasn't going to just drug my dog and call it a day.
Right.
And
Right.
I think some people are okay with that,
Or
unfortunately. Some
they believe that that really is that's the answer.
Yeah, I mean there's multiple reasons. They think that's
Yeah.
the answer.
Yeah.
They
But
don't care enough.
right, you're right. I think
It's
it could be used as an excuse to not do anything. Where
Yeah,
it's like, well, this is what the vet said. This, I guess, is just how my dog is. But see, what's funny is there's no attention being paid to what was the sequence of events that led up to the dog being this way, to where now
right.
you feel like you have to put it on drugs. What was done or not done in the on all that time leading up to that event? No, we're never going to address that. And
Right.
so yeah, either someone will use it as an excuse to do nothing, or they'll believe that's the only answer, and this is just the way it is. And it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dog ends up paying the price in both equations because
Yep.
you really don't know when you give a dog a drug, you really don't know truly what it's going through, how it's making him feel.
Yeah.
Because I've taken drugs in the past that they really were they put you in such a state of mind that is it's beyond words. It's like some of the most horrifying feelings you could go through. It's hard to even put it into words, but it's not the reality I'd want to live in. And to
Yeah.
imagine a dog being stuck there and it can't
Yeah.
really express in words that, hey, this is really making me feel not right.
Yeah.
Um, the dog really has no choice at that point, but to just kind of deal with it.
Yeah, and I mean I have a background in human psychology and um a history with taking different antidepressants.
Mhm.
So I know, side effects can be so all over the place based on the person.
Oh yeah,
So how we will never know if our dog is like in some personal hell, mental
mental health,
torture,
right, right, right.
because they
Yeah,
can't tell us. And we're like, oh, well, they're resting peacefully, but inside the dog's mind, they're miserable.
right. You just don't. You just, and
So,
that's the thing about drugs like that have always kind of scared me a little bit because it's like, well, unlike a child, like the dog can't tell you if something has gone truly wrong with this sort
yeah,
of thing. And all you can really rely on is there a change? Is there an even more greater change in the behavior or the state of
yeah,
mind that dog's in after having taken the drug? And that's the best information you have.
yeah,
But that should never be the solution. Like
no,
the catch-all solution where, oh, my dog behaves this way, let me just give it a drug and okay, problem solved. That's not the that should not be the course. That is not a holistic approach to a
right.
behavioral problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say majorly it's a lack of knowledge, but there's definitely some people where it's just straight up laziness.
Right, right.
That's
Now
just the
now
truth.
speaking of that, how many people would you say where they have dogs, they bring in dogs where you would say that the person is not really equipped to handle that dog? Like how many people, what percentage of people would you say, or how often do you see it where somebody brings in a dog and the dog is all out of control and in your mind you're thinking like this really like you got no business having this. This is not the dog for you. You shouldn't
Well,
have this
it's,
dog.
I mean, dude, it's constant because I mean, so many people, and I don't know, I mean, I think it's a general thing, but also maybe a Florida thing, but so many people have pity mixes or bully mixes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about every walk of life person. And almost every single bully type dog we have has a warning on their account. And I
Right.
attribute that, no, seriously, like either aggressive to cats, aggressive to other dogs, aggressive to people. It's if you see a warning pop up on a dog's account, it's almost always a bully breed. But that is the person's fault
Oh, sure, sure.
because
Yeah.
people don't understand that that's a breed. Like German shepherds are another one I see all the time,
Yep.
that you don't just get one.
Yeah, yeah. No.
I mean, I have Australian shepherds. You don't just get one.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to go through hoops to give my dogs what they need as a normal, everyday, full time job person.
Mhm.
Um, and people get these super hardcore working dogs like German shepherds. We had a couple, I don't know, retired age, late 60s, got a Belgian Malinois.
Oh God, no.
Admitted they did no research before the fact.
Oh, yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah.
And that is, you know, majorly agreed to be one of the most difficult dogs to have
Yeah,
because of their mental and physical needs,
yeah.
you know? So, I mean, it's, I would say more often than not.
Wow, it's that frequent. Holy shit.
Yeah. Um, the exception, one of the exceptions being smaller dogs.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had in the last like month a like a really small doodle, like a 15-pound doodle, and a Chihuahua that even the owners were afraid of them.
Really.
And I'm like, you know, it's just crazy being part of situations like that where someone's afraid of their own dog, but even still are not necessarily going to do anything about it.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's something I run into here and there. And on the one hand, I sort of understand it, but on the other hand, I don't. There's a part of me that's like, why are you scared of this little dog? I don't get it.
Yeah.
This little dog, even if it bit you, I like what's there to be scared of? I don't
Yeah.
doesn't resonate with me at all, you know? Like the dog will assert itself towards the owner and there's this big freak out. And in my mind, I'm thinking like that wouldn't faze me at all. Like I don't and it's not even just because I've worked with the dogs I've worked with. To me, it's just like this is a little dog. Like why are you afraid
Yeah,
of this little
it's
dog?
not gonna rip out your
No, it's
jugular. It'll
yeah,
let
yeah.
it's
It's
fine.
like a little chihuahua or something. Like what's there to be
Yeah.
scared of?
Yeah. But there's a lot of people that, and I feel like in this instance in particular, um, small dogs, the way they get treated,
Yeah,
like you can't touch their ears or
yeah,
trim their nails
yeah.
because the owner, they're almost worse off with the babying in some
Yeah.
ways. I
Oh yeah.
think with the little dogs, it's treating them like little babies
Yep.
and never letting them be their own living thing.
Right.
And with bigger dogs, it's people being wholly unequipped to give their dog the basic things that it needs.
Right.
I mean, we have a client right now that wants to give up their dog because it's more dog than they can handle. And I'm like, dude, no one has time to give their dog what they need. Real, like so few people have the time to give a dog what it needs. But just do better.
Yeah, do better. Do
Like,
better.
I mean, you
Right.
got the dog and you're already doing a good job bringing the dog to daycare almost every day. And to, I told someone, I'm like, look, I will work with him for free if, in hopes that he doesn't have to rehome this dog. And still nothing. People, you got to help yourselves.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can't make you let us help you.
No, and that's the thing is I have people reach out to me all the time where, the work starts and then I explain to them what needs to be done. And I think this realization comes over them that they realize that, oh, there's going to be a lot more work than
I
I
have to do a
thought.
lot of work.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
lot more work than I thought. And oh, I thought this guy was just going to come like train my dog for me. No, doesn't work that way. And then now this is only like a small portion of the people I work with. Most of the people I work with actually, they really do want to do better for their dogs.
yeah.
But there are people I've worked with where they just fall off and they don't want to put in the work. And then sometimes I'll hear back from them months later where they'll say like, "Oh, this bad thing happened," and then I'll ask them, "Well, hey, how?" Because we did one session or two sessions, I didn't hear from you anymore. Like, what? How consistent were you with the protocol I gave you? And it's always the
Yeah.
same answer. Where, well, we were good for a few weeks and then we fell off. And it's like, well, this is why you are not any better off than when you hired me because
Yeah.
you didn't want to do the work that was necessary.
Well, you worked with a woman with a German Shepherd in a situation like that. I think you told me about, right?
Yes, actually, she's the one I'm thinking of. That
Yeah. So,
just exactly the one I'm thinking of.
yeah. I mean, I haven't run into that yet, because I haven't worked with a bunch of people and I haven't done any, significant issues. It's been more like relationship and puppy stuff and basic commands and whatnot. But the nice thing about me doing it on the side of my main job is that I've been able to only work with people that I know are gonna actually listen to me and do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
I
I
would
won't always
say
have that luxury.
I don't have these sort of assumptions about people when they call me. It's just I just kind of explain to them how it all works.
Right.
I make sure they understand up front that, hey, this is I'm here to show you what needs to be done, but the work is for you to do with your dog. So I make sure I'm always upfront with that. Um, but I think sometimes once people get far enough into the process, they're kind of this it really hits them like, oh wow, this is a lot more than I think I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
But
sure most people think that we're gonna fix their dogs
right, and I can't,
and
I
that
don't,
they have nothing to do with the
right,
issue,
right,
which is
I don't,
understandable.
yeah,
Like, I
no, I
get that.
I think that's just kind of the culture that's been established around dog training,
Right.
and this is why a core message of my channel is to teach people that that's not what this is. You know,
Right.
the reason your dog has the problems are directly related to you, and you are the solution to those problems. But
Yeah.
I can only show you the way. I don't live with your dog, so it's unrealistic for me to even do that for you because hypothetically, yeah, I could take your dog and get it looking great for me or have that relationship with me, but it's not going to serve you at all because
Yeah,
the
that means
relation,
nothing.
yeah, means nothing,
It's
right?
not your dog. Yeah.
And this is why I don't do board and trains because to me
Right.
that's like I don't want don't pay me all this money to take the dog. It's not going to benefit you at all.
Yeah. You're like,
Um,
unless you want me to teach your dog sit and stay
right. It's like
and basic, obedience shit, then fine.
right.
That, I can take the dog. But if there's an actual issue, then it's a wash.
Right.
So,
But
you know,
fortunately, because I do want to shine a spotlight on the majority of the people that I work with are they have done such a good job,
yeah,
and they're constantly in communication with me, asking questions, and you're one of them, asking questions, getting information, trying to, we tweak things along the way. We're figuring things out. I mean, those are the people that I know are doing the best they can. They're putting in the work, and
yeah.
they're going to succeed. I I have nothing but appreciation and admiration for those people because they truly want what's best for their dog, and they're looking for the answers, and they want to do what's necessary. And that's
Right.
fortunately the majority of the people that I work with. And that only is more rewarding for me to see that growth happen
Oh, yeah.
and just kind of be a part of that. It's so cool to get videos from people and get updates, and I mean it's the best. So um, to anybody listening who is a part of that group, you all are awesome, and you're doing such a good job. And then you of course, Erica, of course, you're
Thank you.
one of them. But
Yeah.
anyway, it looks like the time is wrapping up. So, is there anything you want to share to wrap it up, or if you want to?
I guess
Um,
just a little thing I wanted to mention on the topic of specifically of um, us being the cause and the solution is there are so many dogs. There was one in particular that are so crazy, out of control, neurotic, bananas, hyper, whatever the case may be. And as soon as we take them away, different dog.
mhm,
I had one dog that was losing its mind, jumping all over the owners, freaking out. They're like, oh, it's okay, and all that, and, apologizing for what a mess he is. And, I put my game face on, if you will, took the dog to the back, chill as can be, totally different dog. And I
right.
I'm like, I wish I could, show them who you really are
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're not around,
Mhm,
because the night and day shift, especially with that dog in particular, was so wild to
mhm.
see.
Yep.
But unfortunately, we do have to take a lot of dogs out of the room because they're so much worse
Yeah.
with the owners there.
Yeah, and I've seen that first. It's one of the things I do depending on the dog. Like if I work with an aggressive dog, one of the first things I do is I tell the owner, just let me beat him in the backyard one on one. Because yeah,
Yeah,
you remove the owner and you see the real dog. And so I'm sure yeah, that probably happens a lot in the vet's office where it's like you maybe recommend that the owner just kind of be in another room or so let me take your dog, and then
yeah,
it's different. Things are a lot calmer, you
yeah.
know.
Doesn't always work, but it's
Yeah,
interesting when it, like, from a behaviorist perspective, to see it when dogs react that way,
for sure.
when
Yeah, and that
they're not, freaking out anymore.
yeah.
It's interesting.
No, it's I always find that fascinating too. It's like it's literally like a switch. It's
Yep.
so wild. Okay, Erica, well, if there's anything else you want to say, I'll let you say it here real quick. Otherwise, it was wonderful having you. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing the message and the information. And I know the goal for you was you just wanted to kind of shed light on the veterinary side of things and trying to give some perspective on what dog owners could maybe improve or do differently in terms of bringing their dogs to the vet and how their behavior or their relationship with their dog does impact your side of things, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's, obviously, getting people proper information is great for us, because then we don't get bitten and we don't get
Yeah.
scratched and kicked and whatever. I have literal scars from what I do. Um, that's great, but I just want to try to help people and their dogs have better lives, regardless of what I do. And if I deal with the dog, I just want people to have better lives and better relationships, because I know it can
Absolutely.
be done.
Absolutely. Well,
So,
we are in unison with that message. Definitely. I want the
Yep.
same thing for everybody. So awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. I hope that you everybody watching, thank you for watching, and I hope you
Thanks,
guys
guys.
can take something away from this and you know, maybe it'll give you some perspective on what your vet has to go through when you bring your dog to the vet, and and maybe there are things we can do outside the vet's office to make that experience easier for both you and your dog. So
Yeah.
anyway, Erica, thank you so much, and
You're welcome,
we'll
Henry.
talk soon. All
All
right.
right. Talk to you later.
Sounds good.